Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, carrying out your charitable wishes forever. Whether it's helping shelter animals, feeding the homeless, enhancing the arts, or supporting students. Learn more at leaveabequest.org.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Hamley. Edenton, North Carolina is a small coastal town with a population of around 4,500 people, 58% African American and 42% white. Race relations have been strained, in no small part because of the Confederate statue that since 1961 stood in the heart of downtown shopping district. In 2021, concerned citizens started protesting to have the statue removed, and last month, the statue came down. We've been following events in Edenton since 2023. Up next on Another View, the next chapter in the national story of racial reconciliation in this idyllic town. We'll be right back after this national, regional, and local news from NPR and WHRO News.
Discussing today's topics from an African-American perspective, this is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Hamley. A very special thank you to producer Lisa Godley and the rest of the Another View crew for filling in for me last week. And a very special thank you to everyone who gave during our fall membership drive. We have always exceeded our goal for the hour, and once again, audience, you did not disappoint. If you haven't become a member yet, the door is always open. Please go to whro.org/donate and become a member. Also, I want to say hello to two of our newest reporters for WHRO News, Toby Cox, who will be covering business and growth, and John Henry Doucette, who is the general assignment reporter in Virginia Beach. They're here watching us do the show today. So welcome to Another View and welcome to WHRO Public Media. And I want to say this now because we may run out of time later, but we want to wish Selena Harris, our intern. She's a junior from VCU, and she is finishing her last day of her internship with us here at Another View. And then she is off to Spain for 3 months to study and to learn and to have a great time. So, Selena, we are wishing you the very, very best, and stay safe and come back to us when you come back to the States. There you go. So in 2023, Another View broadcast live from Edenton, North Carolina. It was the first time in our 15 years on the radio that we had to hire security for our safety. That's how tense things were over the Confederate statue that stood in the heart of the downtown shopping district. Since 2021, the Move the Monument Coalition, a group of citizens who wanted the statue removed, protested every Saturday at the base of the statue. And the Edenton Bell Battery Chapter of the Sons of Confederate Veterans protested to keep the statue in place. Now, on August 30th, late in the evening, the statue was removed and taken to a temporary location. So what's next for the town of Edenton in its quest for racial reconciliation? Here to bring us up to date are several members of the Move the Monument Coalition, starting with Reverend John Shannon. Hello, Reverend Shannon. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Good afternoon. It's good
Glad
to be here.
Have you back. Absolutely. And Rod Phillips, who is I call him the media mogul of the group.
Please,
Rod,
please
how
don't.
are you?
I'm fine.
It's good to see you. And joining us by phone is Susan Inglis. And Susan is a historian and also has been keeping things on track in terms of making sure that everyone records what has been happening. How you doing, Susan?
Doing great, and so pleased to be here with you. Thank you, Barbara.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for joining us. So I need to hear from each of you. Where were you the night of the 30th or whenever you got the message, and what were you feeling at the time? And Ryan, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, well, I was home, probably getting ready for bed. It was about 10:30, and I got a text from a friend who told me there was activity down at the monument. So I drove on down there and saw they had two cranes in position, and they were beginning to put lifting straps on the top section of the monument. And so,
And what was your emotion? What as you watched it actually come to fruition, what you had been marching for 3 years plus?
yeah.
What were you thinking?
Well, it didn't really hit me probably until they actually lifted the top section off, and as the statue was going up, I just felt like a weight had been lifted off me. I actually felt a sort of lightness, knowing at the time that they were really intending just to truck this up the street and eventually reinstall it. But I felt like that at least the first part of our task was over. We were our goal was to always get this thing down, and it was coming down.
Susan, what about you? What were you thinking at the time? When did you find out?
Well, I found out as it was about to happen. I was sitting in my living room and I heard a noise, and I went dashing out, and indeed there were orange cones and security and a crane in place. So I stood rapt watching as another crane was positioned into place, and very skillfully and quietly and peacefully and slowly. It took a couple of hours, but it was so exciting to watch at each step as the equipment was put in place. The very skillful workmen did their job, and the thing was removed from where it had been standing so inappropriately since 1961. It was very exciting. Seeing it on the truck bed with straps around its neck was a particularly strong image for me. And then coming out the next morning and seeing the space open and welcoming with nary a man with a gun anywhere in sight was just wonderful.
What about you, Reverend Shannon?
Well, I didn't find out about it until I got an early morning text, and I did what I normally do, which is I drive over to the church, and I used to get the bus, and it's one or two members I pick up, for Sunday school. But after I learned that the monument has been moved, I took and changed my route, and I went down there, and it was so peaceful, so open. To my wife, I said, "Look at this," so it was beautiful.
So it had taken 3 years for you guys. You marched every single Saturday.
Yep.
By the way, we did ask for representatives of the Bell Battery Chapter of the Sons of Confederate Veterans and other groups that have been fighting to keep the monument in place to join our conversation. We talked with the attorney, Edward Phillips, and he provided this statement, quote, "I just want to avoid making any comments right now, and I apologize for that. But it's just one of those things where the case is ongoing and there's another case pending, so just let everything play out the way it will," unquote. What's your reaction to his reaction, Rod?
Well, I think we all have to just wait and see how it plays out. As I was saying, the first part of this is over. The monument is down. Our next task is to try to keep it from going back up. The monument right now is where it needs to be. It's in storage. There's no reason why this has to be reinstalled just 4 blocks away, 4 blocks up the street.
So, Susan, what is the plan? I mean, it came to a memorandum of understanding between the city of Edenton, or the town of Edenton, and the county of Chowan. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And so,
right.
what's the MO? What is the MOU saying, and what's supposed to happen next?
The MOU says the town will give it to the county, and further says that the county intends to mount exactly the same display, the statue, the brick area around it, the flags in the four corners of that brick area, the uplighting, all that. The plan is to be re-erected in a space that is beside our Veterans Memorial Park, beside our county jail, and perhaps most significantly, beside the parking lot of our county courthouse, so that anyone coming to court seeking justice will be parking beneath a tall statue of this guy with a gun. That is the current plan and what the MOU describes.
So, Reverend Shannon, there's a lawsuit to stop the monument from going back up. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a lawsuit. Rob probably know more about it, but
okay. Rob?
Well, yes, there is a lawsuit. There are 5 citizens, which including myself, Reverend Shannon, and 3 other members of the monument group. But this action is not really connected with their Move the Monument Coalition.
Oh, okay.
The purpose of the lawsuit is to keep this from being reinstalled on courthouse property. Right. There are 2 main points, 2 main legs to this lawsuit. The first being that a lot of this planning that the town and county did starting over a year ago was done in closed sessions, basically behind closed doors, phone calls, meetings between smaller groups. They introduced this memorandum of understanding last fall. It was full blown, but none of it had been discussed before the townspeople.
They didn't bring it to the townspeople before creating the memorandum. It
seemed to have been developed again behind the closed doors, right. And then presented. And so so this was done, and we feel in violation of the open meeting laws.
Okay.
And then the second leg of this lawsuit is the equal protection under the law consideration. As Susan was saying, this is on the behind the courthouse, but it is positioned so that if you are compelled to visit the courthouse for some reason or other, you cannot not avoid experiencing this Confederate monument. Where it was at before, down at the water's edge, you had the choice of whether you could go downtown or not. And I know that a lot of people I have heard just avoided going down there in part for that reason. Mm-hmm. They won't have the same choice when this is moved to the courthouse property.
Because if you have to show up in court,
if you've got to show up to appear for court or to pay a fine or to do some other legal business,
you got to go down
and
there.
You have to park, on courthouse property, you're not going to be able to avoid this.
Right.
This lawsuit has not been heard. It's still alive. I really can't tell you a lot about it. You would have to talk with the attorney handling this. But this is something that we are still pursuing.
So there is still activity. This is not over just because on August 30th, part 1 happened. It's
correct.
Not. It's still not
correct.
Not complete.
Yeah, right.
Reverend Shannon, what's the Black community saying?
Well, the Black community, there were congratulations about it being down, and so they're still not saying a lot,
Mm-hmm.
They seem to, because what I did when I got to church was I told them that it was down, and of course applause and everything, but I went on to share with them too that it was bigger than that, and there was some other things that went along with it. So like it was said earlier, even in what he said, that we're kind of watching and waiting to see what else is going to happen. So yeah.
Susan, tell me about the Monument Relocation Committee.
Well, that is a kind of mysterious little body. I cannot even tell you who is on it. But in March, when the town council and the county commissioners finally had a public meeting to ostensibly to discuss the monument, but in fact to tell us what they had decided, we did all have a chance to make public comment. But what was revealed then was this particular MOU, which both the commissioners and the town council adopted. And the committee was heard just last week in a meeting, maybe earlier this week, in a meeting that I did not know about until it was over. But they were heard before the county commissioners, and I understand that it was an opportunity for committee members and perhaps members of the general public, but it wasn't very clearly or well advertised. But comments were made, including objections to, such as we have been voicing now, objections to its being put on that piece of county property, where it will not be an appropriate thing for visitors of the Veterans Memorial Park or for visitors at the courthouse to see.
So according to the transcript, so Bob Kirby, Tony Schaefer, and the Commissioner Chris Evans are a part of this relocation committee. And the meeting, Rod, was only 12 minutes.
Yes, and the committee members is a subset of the County Board of Commissioners.
Okay.
Actually, the committee members, so the
Chowan County Board of Commissioners.
Yeah, you've got the chairman and then two commissioners.
Two commissioners.
Yes.
Okay, so their job is to figure out where it's going to go and what it's going to look like. Is that what what's their charge?
To see to it that it happens. To see to it that it happens.
To see to it that it actually gets relocated and put into a position.
They're supposedly in charge of seeing that it gets done and how it gets done. They've hired or they've gotten a landscape architect to work with them. They've got to do some sort of site survey. They've got a lot of things they've got to consider and hoops to jump through that they probably gave no thought through when they first started planning this a year or two ago.
757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversation. We're talking about the removal of the statue in Edenton, North Carolina from the waterfront, and now we're learning that there's still more to come. So we'd love to hear your comments. We will take comments from anyone from any side on this issue, as long as you remain civil and polite. So, audience, be warned. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Why do you think that this removal happened in the middle of the night? Now, according to the mayor, in the statement that he put out, he said, quote, "Moving a structure of this size requires heavy equipment and careful coordination. The safest time to conduct such an operation is at night, when pedestrian and vehicle traffic is minimal. A publicly announced removal could have attracted a large, emotionally charged crowd, increasing the risk of injury or disruption in our downtown area. By conducting the removal at night, the town avoided further disruption to downtown businesses and ensured a safe and orderly process."
I don't have any disagreement with any of that. I think it was really a smart move for safety reasons primarily. to move it at night. There is additional benefit to the town council in that it was not well publicized, and that you didn't have too many people down there with cameras. You didn't have a news crew down there, for example. So there are other benefits, but I think it was primarily it made it easier for the crew probably to do their work without a crowd of 200 or 300 people watching.
So why do you think that this MOU came about? And I want to ask a specific question about, I know that the town received a grant for some improvements at the waterfront. And Rod, you can fill us in on exactly what that is, but was there a financial incentive also to make this happen, do you think?
Well, and I don't think this grant has anything to do with the memorandum of understanding, but the town did get a grant almost 2 years ago, a year and a half ago or something like that. $2 million grant, as I understand it, to improve the waterfront area, which would include something like a new bathhouse, also reconfiguring that part of the street somewhat. And as I understand it, the monument was in the way because the 500 block of South Broad Street is going to be at least repaved, and there's going to be, as I understand it now, parking spaces added. So they're probably going to have to take up that center median that the
where the monument stood.
was standing. Yeah. They could have probably redesigned that in some way to leave the monument there, but I think designing it in such a way that it did not include the monument gave the town a good, valid excuse to move it. And then being able to blame something else. Other than them just wanting the monument gone.
Gotcha.
And I just want to add that, you know, by moving it at night, you know, it kind of adds to the unknowns about why at that particular time, you know, whether the grant funding has anything to do with the move at that particular time because of the way that they did it at night. And then the little bit of information that they put out, you know, when they do have some public comments about things, it just leaves you kind of in the dark. So you have to kind of, you know, just guess what's going on, you know?
So how did you, and student, I'm going to start with you. How do you keep people engaged for 3 years, every single Saturday, to come out and protest this? Let me ask Susan first, and then I'll come to you, Reverend. Go ahead, Susan.
Yeah.
What was that like?
People do continue to care about this. It has taken brilliant communication, for which Rod has been responsible, but it has taken just continuing to realize that people care about this. And on the subject of possible incentives, it occurs to me that the town has an economic development incentive to have the thing out of there. The grant for doing various things at the waterfront is part of a regional plan for economic development and fairly specifically tourism development. And the statue there was physically in the way of the plan, but it also, I think, is philosophically in the way of the plan. I think that economic development and tourism development, except maybe a tiny small sliver of tourists, would be impeded by its continued presence there.
Rod, did you ever get frustrated? Did you ever say, "What's the point"?
I got frustrated. I never questioned what we were doing. I didn't throw up my hands and say what the point. But there were times I'm sure we all got a little frustrated because we kept doing the same thing over and over, and we did not see a lot of progress at times.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, we're talking about the removal of the Confederate statue from the town square in Edenton, North Carolina. Our guests are Susan Inglis, Rod Phillips, and Reverend John Shannon, all members of the Move the Monument Coalition. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Call us to join our conversation. Ed joins us from Virginia Beach. Hi, Ed. You're on the air.
Hey, Barbara. This is Ed Sykes. How are you?
Hi, Ed. I'm fine. How are you?
Good. This is such an important subject area. I've had the pleasure of meeting your distinguished guests during my many protest vacations down there. Rod has done a terrific job of communication. I just want to bring up some points because what they did in a local area, I think, can be transferred to nationally what's going on now. One, Susan mentioned it. He was a whiz at communicating and being consistent with his communication on and on again, and communicating back and forth with the members who thought this was important. Mm-hmm. Two, as your members mentioned before, persistent. Every Saturday they were out there. It didn't matter. And it didn't matter that the opposition was showing pictures with them and guns and having motorcycle gangs out there, the whole bit. They were persistent every Saturday. And the other thing I think is they realized change doesn't happen overnight. It was little changes here and there till we finally got the statue taken down, and that's what I wanted to bring up. Yeah.
And are you from Edenton? Because I know you were there when we broadcast live from the show.
I have a childhood friend who's in Edenton, and then when I go down to visit him, I would always, go to the march. Matter of fact, my wife laughed because the first time we went down there on vacation, we saw the march. And I dropped my wife off at my friend's house and said, "I'm marching with these folks." and I don't know if Rod remembers me and the Reverend.
I do. I certainly remember you and your wife.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for the call, Ed. We really appreciate that. And Ed brings up some good points, Reverend Shannon, does he not?
Yeah, he brings up some good points. And what he said was what kept me going, was that things don't happen overnight. And then when you believe in something, you got to be persistent. Mm-hmm. My wife, she would ask me about, she was afraid for me going down there, and she was asking about did I need to go down there. And I think the last time we had that discussion, I said, well, if you feel strong enough about something, you got to go. I've missed it once or twice, either while I was a funeral, wedding, or something like that from the church. But when my time allowed, I was right there because I felt like it was worth fighting for.
So, Susan, give us a sense of what you actually faced there, because I don't think people understand what you all, it wasn't just this peaceful y'all were watching around the monument. You had some pretty serious opposition.
Yes, and it was we did have opposition, and it was kind of loud and ugly, and it was visually jarring and ugly. There were threatening gestures every now and again, but it was by and large peaceful, and the local law enforcement was very supportive and helpful in keeping it peaceful. Another thing I want to say about it all is that it has been a suck of energy and time and attention. That statue is a symbol of white supremacy, and the actual legacy of white supremacy, the lingering effects of white supremacy have resulted in, continue to result in persistent problems in our community with uneven economic development, uneven housing availability, uneven opportunities in education, and having this symbol there kept that unevenness in place in a way, but also having to address that symbol actually took time and energy that I feel like for me is now freed up to put a little more time and energy and attention on addressing the problems that result from what attitudes of white supremacy.
Rod, were you ever able to have a conversation with the opposition? Was there ever an opportunity for, a civil dialogue, even if you disagreed?
I did not. I don't think I ever had a lengthy, meaningful conversation. We were just too estranged. Yeah.
Too far apart.
Yeah.
Wow.
I did attempt such. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Abruptly cut off. I have always lived in Edenton, except for a period in my child rear years. But growing up in Edenton, I went to Sunday school in school with some of the people on the opposite side, and I tried to use that long relationship for some conversation, but was unsuccessful.
So they just wouldn't talk to you? Is that, or were the feelings so raw that you couldn't even start a conversation?
Simple refusal to engage.
Did that happen to you too, Reverend Chan?
Yes, and if you had some conversation about it, it would be distracting, not about the monument, about some other things. Like,
can you give me this example?
Well, I have conversation where they talk about the veteran, whether the United States Navy veteran is the same as a Confederate veteran. Those kind of conversations like that, or to go off and talk about stuff like homosexuals or what's happening down in Israel or something. You know what I'm saying?
So they would bring up other topics,
other topics to get away from talking about the stature. And so I've had some conversation that way, but to get down to talk, and I started on but to say that I felt as though the statue was about white supremacy or oppressing black people, and then you end up having a conversation about somebody trying to tell you about how many black people was in the Civil War, as soldiers fighting,
Yeah.
But not to really get down to any meaningful conversation, no.
So is the town divided? Is it, or will this, because you've actually been able to move this, is everybody just kind of holding their breath until the next step, or do you think that people are starting to come back together?
It's going to be a long process. As far as it being divided, this was kind of driven home when Susan was running for town council a couple of years ago, and she went into the various communities and to outreach for her campaign. And one fellow pointed out at one of her meetings that there were two Edentons, being Black Edenton and White Edenton, being like down towards the waterfront where all the businesses are and that thing. He brought that up, and I've heard that echoed quite a bit. I think the monument being downtown, right down there in the heart of business section, and all these businesses are white owned. Let's admit it. Kind of reinforces the idea that that this is the white part of town. It kind of sends a message that perhaps other people are not wanted downtown. It kind of rubber stamps the wrong kind of thinking. It's a welcome mat for white supremacy ideas. And so with the removal of the monument, I think there's a good chance that all of this is going to kind of reverse, but it's going to take a long time. It could take a generation.
Yeah.
But
wow,
you've got to start it somewhere.
Yeah.
And this is a start.
Mm-hmm.
This is the beginning of a multi-year, multi-decade, possibly several generation process before this whole town actually comes together.
Susan, I'm curious, when you were running then for an elected office, and you wound up being in meetings, I would assume, in white Edenton and black Edenton, as they say. Did they tell you the same issues, or what were the conversations?
I think that there are differences in concern among white Edentonians and black, I should say many white Edentonians and many black Edentonians. There are definitely differences in issues that people are concerned about. And I'm not running currently. We do have a municipal race in progress now. I ran for the at-large seat. A young woman named Regina Bond is running for the at-large seat now. She has made a very good point that she is running to represent North Edenton and South Edenton, East Edenton, and West Edenton. And that is what the at-large counselors must do. And I have no doubt that she will do a good job of it. In general, our local government does not have enough black representation, enough working person representation, enough female representation. She is all those things. And not only does our town council need that, but our county commissioners need it. All the committees and commissions, both at the county level and the town level, need more diverse representation. These bodies are majority white, majority male, majority elderly.
You know, the mayor went on to say, it's a couple other points I'm going to bring up that he placed in his statement about the removal. He said that he defended the town council against accusations of weakness or delay, stating, quote, "To those who have called the town council or me cowards, the facts say otherwise. The easiest choice would have been to avoid this issue entirely and leave it to future councils. But this council and the one before it chose to face the issue directly, despite harsh criticism and personal attacks from all sides. That's not weakness, that's leadership." If we go back, this whole thing, Rod, started with George Floyd's murder, did it not? Or at least
it did. It started. Well, you could say that. That's a good beginning point. George Floyd, May of 2020.
2020.
Okay. In June of 2020, town council voted to, as a response to George Floyd and everything that was following that, they voted to establish a Human Relations Commission to, among other things, figure out what to do about the Confederate monument. This is in June of 2020. It took them months to establish the commission, name the members. The members, the commission operated in good faith, I believe, and they came up with a recommendation to town council to move the monument, relocate it, and the suggestion that they had was to a cemetery on the edge of town. But that process, they did not get that recommendation until August of 2021. So 14 months went by, and with the town constantly telling us we're waiting on a recommendation from the Human Relations Commission. They got the recommendation, and then in November of 2021, they tell us that no action is going to be taken because they're waiting on a court decision. Right. So it was a wasting, well over a year, 14 months, year and a half. That's the kind of thing that we've been dealing with. The Confederates got this judge to put a restraining order on the town's attempt to move it to a park, and basically that just sat in place for a couple of years. Yeah. And the town made no effort that we saw to get this legal obstacle moved.
And do we know why the judge finally made the decision to move? Because they had to remove that restraining order. Isn't that correct? In order for
you're probably talking about the court hearing that happened.
The one that just happened in August. Yes.
Well, that had been dragging on for a couple of years. The Judge Wayland Sermons dismissed the original lawsuit that the Confederates brought. In large part, I think, because by that time those plaintiffs, the sons and daughters of the Confederacy or whatever, had decided to support this memorandum of understanding. In other, they were going to support the plan for the town to give the monument to the county. And then he also lifted the that restraining order. That was a different judge. The original judge retired. Tillett. Yeah.
Okay.
But basically,
so over this whole time, there was over these years of waiting and waiting, people came and went in leadership positions, still without making a decision.
Yeah. But we've had this judge that basically just sat on it for 2 years and did nothing. And the town, again, we could not see any movement from town council to move this thing along.
Susan, what did visitors to Edenton say when they would come?
I think a lot of this expressed astonishment that the thing was there. And then the next time they came, that the thing was still there. I think that is has been a very common reaction of tourists. Unfortunately, there were some visitors who came because it was there, and I think that there were visitors as well as citizens who were alarmed at that trend. I don't think anybody wants us to be a magnet for white supremacy. We have got enough to do to combat the white supremacy that is endemic in our community. But visitors, I think, have been surprised that a town that is so pretty and so proud of itself would have this ugly symbol persisting in a public place, such a high-profile one for so long.
So other Confederate groups from around the country would come also to protest. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, it did happen. And fortunately, they are not very large groups. We, the people of the United States of America, believe in liberty and justice for all. There is, among all American citizens, I think we do believe in freedom. We believe in what we declared independence from a kingdom for. So there, I think that we, the people, mostly do not want symbols of white supremacy anywhere that we have to look at.
So Mayor Hackney High said, quote, "To those who claim we are erasing history, that is a misinformed view. The monument is not being removed, it is being relocated. In doing so, we're not erasing history, we are preserving and protecting it." There's the Move the Monument Coalition has never been about erasing history, has it?
No.
Reverend Shannon?
No, we've never been about erasing the history. We was about, let's tell the history correctly. Let's tell all of the history, and if that monument, which it represented white supremacy, oppression, then put it somewhere else. Put it where it needs to be. In a museum somewhere.
Okay, right.
Well, the monument really has not really had much to do with history. And first of all, removing it does not. The history is still there. If the monument has anything to do with history, it's the history of Jim Crow. It's the history of the racism of late 19th, early 20th century North Carolina. That's the history that this monument documents. And there are better ways to understand that history.
So part of if I read the minutes correctly, there was also some talk about maybe naming the Confederate soldiers that were, I guess, from Edenton or from Chowan County, to have that added to the monument in some way.
Well, one of the relocation committee members wants to add the names of the individual 47 soldiers. He at the meeting the other night, he guessed there were 13. There were actually 47. I think that's going to be inappropriate unless they also somewhere in that area add the name of every enslaved person in Chowan County that lived and died in Chowan County. He wanted to do this for reasons of clarity, but unless you also recognize these enslaved people that these Confederates oppressed, basically, you're not going to get clarity.
One of the things that struck me, Susan, when we were there a couple years ago, was watching those huge flags that surrounded the statue. Also, are they still there?
No, the area is completely open now. It's just turf, just grass. The flags, which are the 4 flags under which the town of Edenton was governed, of the 4 federal governments, so British, colonial American, the Confederate administration flag, and the North Carolina flag. Those are the 4 flags. They have now been given to the county along with the bricks. The whole display is given to the county.
So if I recall correctly, when we were there in 23, the county, Rod, didn't want anything to do with this statue. And so what is the attitude of Chowan County at this point?
Actually, they've made 2 attempts to do this. They give it to the county. I think the first attempt was in probably towards around the summer of 2022. And the town and the county couldn't come together. Ostensibly, it was that the town was unable to give the county clear title to the monument, according to the chairman of the Board of Commissioners. So they dropped that plan for a while, and then they developed the plan to move it to Hollowell Park. But soon after that, they apparently the county came back and let the town know that they wanted to make another attempt to get it.
So we got about 5 minutes left in this conversation. How do we heal? How does Edenton, North Carolina, heal itself, Reverend Shannon?
The way that we have to heal is that we have to, come together. We have to, have a compromise, of course, and we have to communicate. What it is that we're doing. What are we trying to portray? For this town of Edenton. It's going to have to take, putting the things out on the table, so we can see actually what we're dealing with, because the economics, housing, and jobs, it's an issue in Edenton. And if we don't, it's like when we have visitors come and they quietly give us a thumbs up or say they're proud of us and that kind of thing. But the message needs to go out. About, hey, this is wrong. Let's come together and make it right,
Rod, I noticed in one of your emails, you also called out some folks to say, hey, look, we got this far. Yeah. Now can you guys open your mouths and come support us some more? Do you need more support from the community?
Yeah. We hear that there's support out there, but we don't, we hear this anecdotally. We don't see a a lot of people going to, for example, to county board of commissioners or town council and speaking up. We hear that this various groups are behind us, but as a group, won't put their name behind the support for us. And so I've called out. I've said that this is the time to step up.
Is that also the time, another way to bring the community together?
That would be, yeah. But we're not. You don't heal by taking a cancer out of one part of your body and transplanting it to another. And so this I'm sure that putting this monument back up 4 blocks from where it was is not the way to move this town forward.
Now, you guys took down, Susan, your billboards for the moment, but are you gearing up again mentally as well as physically to start the process again? If and when the commission decides on when it's going to relocate and what it's going to be like and so forth.
Yeah, I think we're totally committed to communicating by billboard, by messages at town council and county commissioner meetings, by being on radio shows such as this one. Thank you very much, Barbara.
Yeah.
We're
You're
totally
welcome.
committed to continuing to speak for what is right. And so if the statute were to go up again, we would have something to say about it, and we would not let up on the message. And I want to say about healing and coming together that conversation is what it takes, and your own radio program is an example of this. We have a chance to just talk about where we are and what is coming up for us. At the Edenton Racial Reconciliation Group, for instance, which is purely a conversation club, conversation ranges and is sometimes about the most mundane things. But conversation by conversation, we deepen our acquaintance with each other and so our understanding of each other. Yeah. And I think that deeper acquaintance leads to greater empathy and greater ability to understand. So I think that is key to healing and making it possible to come together. Yeah.
And you just took the last of the time that we have, which is great. But Susan, thank you so much. Susan Inglis and Reverend John Shannon and Rod Phillips, thank you as always. We will continue to follow this story and bring updates as they happen. And thank you, audience, for the pleasure of your company over this past hour. You can listen to this show and catch up on other shows about Edenton on our website, whro.org, or on Spotify, or wherever you go for your podcast listening pleasure. Next week on Another View, cardiologist Dr. Keith Newby with another view on health, and we're going to be talking about vaccines. Our theme music is an original composition created especially for Another View by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Jordan Christie is our audio engineer, and Dr. Barry Graham answered our phones. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone. And let's get together again next Thursday at noon for Another View.
Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, partnering with donors from all walks of life to improve southeastern Virginia through grants, scholarships, and leadership initiatives. Learn more at hamptonroadscf.org.